Hey, welcome back. It's Michelle.
And Miguel.
And today we are continuing our conversation about Disney World.
50th anniversary.
Woo! Pew, pew, pew.
That was really corny.
That was supposed to be fireworks.
Okay.
Pew, pew, pew. So, before we really delve into what we really think about Disney World and like the things we experience, and especially in comparison to what we experience with Disney, I think we want to do a hot take on vacationing to Disney World. And what is that hot take, Miguel?
The hot take is that it is not a vacation.
Dun dun dun.
Yeah, and here's why. So after having done this for a number of years already, it's become clear, or should have become clear, that it can be pretty stressful because of all the planning.
We always drove from Virginia to Florida, so we
go by car.
we have never flown to Florida.
I don't like flying anyway, so we settled on driving.
It's like almost like about 12 to 14 hour drive depending on traffic, which we never had a problem with, I think.
It's actually quite smooth, and we've actually eventually got used to it. But besides the driving, it's also the park themselves. There's a lot of planning involved so that we don't end up getting lost and argue. And also, it also made us realize there's a reason why there's a resort and then there's the parks. Before, I thought, why would they make the resort? Because the park is the attraction, right? Like, people go there for the parks. But there's a purpose for that. And it's something that I guess one wouldn't realize until you had enough experience, and then it dawns on you like, oh, the resort is for relaxing and regaining that energy, because duh. And then the park is where you do all the high energy stuff like rides, music, food, traveling around, walking around, taking pictures. The resort is a place to relax and not think about the planning and not thinking about getting lost and where to go on the map. So that's like the basic thesis of that. But what are some other things that one should take note?
Well, if you ideally think Disney World is a relaxing time, it is not. And especially if you have a family, I think it comes down to what are your goals? What do you want out of this trip? And I think when people go to these kinds of trips, especially to Disney World, there's this sense of high expectation that could easily be disappointing when you get to it. And I mean, no amount of planning could make this trip any better. It's just when you come to Disney World, it's supposed to be a mixture of adventure and relaxation, depending what you use that time and like who you go with. And if it's just you, a Disney adult, you do you.
So not only is it a mindset, but there's a lot of like human factors in terms of quantity, right? If you're a couple, just two people, and then there's really nothing much to plan besides one and the other person. But if there's more than two, then that's where you have to be a manager, right? And that already takes up enough of your energy just for the planning side. And then driving there if you're going by car, and then going around the park, making sure that you're not lost or whatever, or compromise on when you're gonna meet and where you're gonna meet, things like that.
Why we say it's more of an adventure, because I don't know about you, Miguel, but personally for me, I never really think of Disney World as a very relaxing place, aside from the resorts, which is an option to go to if you don't want to go in the parks. But going to Disney World, if you really do want to get your money's worth, but not like stress yourself out, you do have to plan a lot. And unfortunately, it's not just your family going there. There's different families, and it's always just going to be the other people around you that you can't control. And Disney World is trying its best to even accommodate all kinds of people, so it's got to be both ways, like for everybody to enjoy themselves. So I'm like,
yeah, our personal philosophy is it's all about what you want from it and paying and getting what you pay for, right? Because like, for example, you have the VIP tours, you have the fast pass, you have certain like tiered options on how much you're going to pay and how much you benefit from that. So if you're pretty frugal, then you're going to have to expect not as much accommodation. So those are some of the things that could add to the stress depending on your decision.
In a way, I think over the years, Disney kind of has started, not isolating per se, but like they basically have started making a really big gap between those who can afford and those who can't afford. So
Yeah, the haves and have-not.
and it becomes this thing like, is it even worth it, right? Like for a lot of middle class families who, like us, we try to save every year, and I think it's always worth it because we don't usually buy stuff like other things outside of Disney. To me, I always pay for the experience, not a lot of like physical items. So again, depends on who you are. It's interesting that it used to be, it's an escape, right? From the typical American life, going to Disney World. I got a like little tea on that because then some people come to this park thinking they can do whatever they want because it's outside of the society norms, but you still gotta like play by the rules. Like,
and that's like a whole other thing I can go off on a tangent about, right? That's like a whole other...
Go off.
Yeah. Well, just to spill a little bit of tea, I believe that you have to be in the right headspace and you have to be a particular personality. And I don't mean that like you have to be a certain archetype, but just keep in mind this is a family-oriented area. So just like any other public space,
when you do go to Disney, in itself, it may not feel like a vacation, but part of it feels like it's like an adrenaline rush. So it's kind of worth the break that you give your time to going to these parks. And I guess like we're speaking as almost like Disney adults just because like now that we're a little bit older.
So that's another thing that's kind of like unlike any other park in the nation, is that because Disney World and Disneyland are internationally renowned, and there's also parks in other foreign countries too, right, like Shanghai and Tokyo, but here specifically in the United States, it is popular, universally popular. So not only will you have the usual like silly American stereotype tourists, right, you're gonna have other foreign tourists, and they're coming here with their own mindset and expectations and cultural values and behaviors, right, and attitudes. So that's also one thing to consider. We usually never have a problem with that. So just to, I guess, quickly kind of wrap it up here, it's really a mindset. So my takeaway is that you got to have the mindset and be mentally prepared, socially, financially, and then it also comes experience. You're never going to get it the first time. So if it's your first time there, you're going to find out a lot of things about yourself. And then on the second or third time, you're going to understand and realize, okay, this is how I'm going to go about it, knowing my threshold, knowing my energy level. That's my takeaway.
I think you said it better than me for the last couple. I this was more like a mini rant type video than actually explaining, because it comes down to like what kind of a planner you are and what do you take out of certain experiences. And for us Disney fans, we always want to get the most out of our time at Disney World, and especially when me and my parents, all of us want to enjoy it together as a family. And it is a family park, but it just feels like a really nice bonding time too. So we can get emo about this, but yep.
Well, if you enjoy that tea, we hope you try our other teas in our collection of videos. Our tea collection.
It started off as a hot take, and then it went to a tea, and now it was just a rant. So
well, we hope you enjoy it though. Let me know in the comments what you thought. If any further advice, if you've been to Disney, you have something to say, let us know, and we'll see you around in the next video.
Bye.